This is the bonus section podcast, episode number 43. Just say it out loud. Are you the type of person that knows you were meant for something greater in this lifetime, and that somewhere inside of you, there's just this bigger version of yourself trying to break through, but in spite of all your self-development, you just can't seem to find the way up there? Well, then, hey, you are definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the bonus section and the host of this podcast, and a person just like you trying to learn how to live the most fulfilling life possible. Now, to help you take immediate action to get moving in a better direction, we take all the notes from each episode and we give a couple episodes away at a time, so you have something to work on each week. No matter when you start listening to this podcast, we don't drown you with a whole bunch of them. Just a couple of them are up there, and you can listen to the podcast number and sit with those notes and just write. I just want you to write what you're thinking down somewhere so that you can begin this fabulous transformation that happens when you take that action. All right, in this episode, just say it out loud. What's he talking about? Well, I'm saying this. I just see so many people. The first point here is apologizing. So what do I mean? Stop apologizing for what you really want. People are shrinking. And again, it's an internal thing first. We know. I mean, look, there's so many of us that know from a very young age what we really want. I mean, a young age. I'm not talking about the whimsical things that come our way and we get fired up, and in a world of instant gratification, we get excited and we change course with all this creative ADD. No. I'm talking about that serious thing that is in your brain and in your psychology, and it's in there, and it just keeps talking to you. It's the thing that you go to bed with at night. It's the thing that wakes you up in the morning. It's the thing that you daydream about. And when I say the thing, I'm not talking about it always has to be really super precise. It could just be a general thing that you really want to be involved in. But it's there, and it doesn't go away. But you have this other ugly voice on the other shoulder. The dreamer's on one shoulder, and the ugly one, the voice is on the other one, affected by everybody else's opinion about you, by the way. Oh, you could never do that. Oh, that's ridiculous. Oh, that's way too big. Nobody does that. There's enough of those people already. And on and on and on the little quips go. And then you start to shrink down to that voice, and you begin to, in your heart, apologize. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to think that big. I didn't mean to have big dreams. Well, yeah, you're right. Who am I? That's absurd. That person that has that I saw that I'd love part of. Oh, that person, those people have they had a better background. They went to better schools. And on the excuses go. And see what happens? And we just start falling down and tumbling down the black hole. And we become apologetic. But the crazy thing is, the dream won't go away. It continues to nag us. And the older we get, the worse it gets, because we're running out of time. Tick, 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 tick goes the clock. We're running out of time to do this thing, to become part of this world, whatever it is, to take that class, to learn that instrument, to do that thing, to start that company, whatever. Because we apologize so much, we just keep sinking down, and that persona really never gets created. So the next point is, but here's the way out. When you speak it out loud, and better yet, not just speak it, but write it down, something magical begins. Something really magical begins. When you speak it out loud. Ooh, I just got the chills saying that, because I recognize it myself over the course of my life. And as the father of 5, my gosh, I can tell you every single week before this podcast, I'm into it with one of these kids. And I'll tell you about Jack today in a second here. But with my clients too, and myself, I have a big dream for my real estate business to leave a massive positive footprint on all of, especially the new people coming in who are getting just slaughtered by the business. So I spoke it out loud. I speak it here. This isn't even a podcast about real estate. It's a podcast about mindset and helping you. But you speak these things out loud, and I write it down. Sitting next to me, I'll probably crinkle a bunch of papers here and whatnot. I actually have 2 yellow pads. I have my favorite little mechanical pencil. I mean, I know some of you are just listening. You can't see it, but you can hear me banging around with stuff within an elbow's reach, not an arm's length. I don't have to reach. It's there. And I keep writing, and I keep thinking, and I keep dreaming, and I will not be stopped to get what I want. But you see, the act of constantly doing it is the exercise that we need to not hear that voice, to not shrink back, to not apologize. And the magic is what? When we constantly exercise that, or we do it for the first time, and I mean, I know you're thinking about this for a long time, but the minute you speak it out loud, what you just did was you really awakened your subconscious. You can listen to every famous trainer, philosopher, and you can go back, read every major document like the Bible. Stuff about the mindset is there. You must speak to the spirit, the subconscious, whatever you want to call it. The guiding voice is in your head, and it waits for you to program it. So if you keep telling, you better avoid that big thing, you better avoid that big thing, guess what the subconscious is doing? It's like, well, you told me to avoid the big thing. But the minute, boom, you fight back against the negative voice and you say, I want to be this, and you say it out loud, your subconscious is all of a sudden dropping everything else that it heard, because it's hearing this loud call, this loud voice. It's saying, I want to be this thing, and it awakens. It's been looking for you to give it something positive, something strong. It wants to go to work for you, and it's magical. And when I say magical, I'm old enough and long enough in the tooth here to have experienced it. So this isn't like some guy on a microphone jumping up and down with some rah-rah. This is pragmatic, practical stuff. I always talk about the book that awakened me about the power of my subconscious as a tool. A real thing I could get to and call upon any time was by Maxwell Maltz, the plastic surgeon at the turn of the century to the mid of the 1900s, wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. And that was all about psycho, mind, cybernetics, steering systems. Cybernetics comes from a Greek word that means steering systems. You actually have steering systems, machinery in your mind, and it's formulated as a subconscious. Incredible, huh? Like whacked out crazy that it's that simple. So when you speak it aloud, and you write it down. Think about like in our olden days when we used to have chalkboards. Now everything's a digital board, and you got in trouble and the teacher made you stay after class or whatever it might be. They would make you write on the chalkboard, I will not do this. I will not do this. I will not do this. What were they doing? They were training the subconscious to not have bad behavior in school. So why can't we train the subconscious by thinking something out loud and writing it down multiple times the same way over and over each day before you begin to program? And why would you do it on a regular basis like that? Because your subconscious will atrophy. Other thoughts will come into it. It's just sort of this thing. Your subconscious needs programming. It just sits there waiting for programming. So, like Napoleon Hill said, a lot of negative and positive thoughts are floating around on the ether. Ever had an idea just pop into your head and you're like, where'd that come from? Because these ideas just float around and they just come in and out of your mind, and the subconscious hangs on to them or not. So if you can program it to go looking for the thoughts that you want as they pass, boom, boom, I grabbed it. Let me give you an example. The Jack Griffin, my son, is a really, 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 really good student. And he's got one little challenge with taking standardized tests because he simply hasn't figured out a strategy. He simply hasn't figured out a way. So what happens is, probably like it did to me when I was a kid, you begin that, you can't take that test. And if you can't take that test, you can't get into that school. And so all of a sudden, that's a practical example. I could do the same thing on business. I could never be a real estate agent. I could never be that person. Well, why not? Well, because, you have to take that test, right? Don't you have to take a test? See what I mean? Adult, children, whatever. It's just that crazy thing that we say. Well, yes, but why don't you just work on your mindset first that says, I will become a great test taker for this one particular test. And the minute you say it and you write it down, the resources are in front of you. The right coaches with the right systems and the time that they can exchange for money, or even a lot of them these days, like Khan Academy, giving it away for free or the internet. Incredible, right? So now all of a sudden, instead of going to YouTube and just getting lost in a rabbit hole, you're looking at becoming a great test taker. You're looking at the people that give the best advice. Your intuition tells you who's benevolent and who's malevolent, and you make the choice to go with the benevolent people, and you start to talk to them. I'm doing that right now this week. I have 2 people I'm talking to that I saw their stuff for free on the internet, and it might lead to a really serious business relationship. Appointment's already booked. So that's what I'm saying about something magical happens when we speak it, we write it. And now our brain is looking for the resources. The subconscious is saying, no, not over there, over here, go here. Oh, no, get off that rabbit hole, get into this. See what I mean? Because it's been programmed for that thing. Let me go back to Jack for a second. So Jack and I went skiing this week for his February vacation, and we drove to an Ivy League school, also known as Dartmouth, out in the woods, the Green Machine, and it was beautiful and it was nice. And I got excited from like, gee, this is a really cool place to go. I mean, the guy likes to ski, is outdoors, and he's trying to achieve something big. And I just could see he just wasn't feeling it. So we drive home the rest of the way, and I'm like, all right, dude, come on. What are the top 5 schools? Top 10. Just trying to get him to talk. I could just tell something stuck in there. It's that voice, the negative one. I could feel it. I can see it in my kids. I can hear it in you when you talk to me, and I can hear it myself. I'm just trained. My subconscious is trained as a coach to hear it, to see it, to intuit it, whatever I can see. So I see the guy going through it. And so we're driving down into Boston, and I know that several other schools that he's really interested in are there. So I just wanted to see how his brain is these days. But he's got this little thing on his shoulder about this test, right? There's a guy that's got like, I don't know, a 4.4 weighted average with AP classes. Not like we're not talking an academically challenged cat here, right? So we start to get a little bit closer into town, and I'm thinking, okay, let's go by MIT. Let's go by Harvard. I know those things. He's talked about those. And these are big, right? These are big names. These are hard things to do. And so it would make sense that people would question themselves. But as we got closer and he started to make the list, and I said, all right, dude, now that you've made the list, I need you to tell me which one. Because I said, you just made a list of 10. Same thing for all of you listening. A list of 10 things you really want to do in your life. But what's the one? You're telling me that there's not one that you really want above all the rest. You're telling me that if you got into number 10 on your organized list, you'd be as happy as number 1. And of course, his answer was no. I said, so tell me the one. What is the one? And all of a sudden, this guy that I pester all the time, he comes up with it. He says, the big H. He said, I want to go to Harvard since I was a little kid. I said, what do you mean since you were a little kid? What? Now I get awakened as a coach because it's my own kid, so I get fired up. What do you mean? What do you mean? Tell me about this. Tell me more. I'm excited. He's finally talking. He said, I don't know, since I was young. When? How young? Can you remember back to 6th grade? 6th grade, I say. 6th grade? You're kidding me. That long? This is that thing? Why aren't you speaking this aloud? And that's the next point here. Because I turned to him and I said, if that's the thing, you must go all in. You must go all in. You must do everything it takes. You must speak it aloud. You must say it not just to me. You finally said it to me. You spoke it aloud. Now you must speak it aloud to your advisor. You must speak it aloud to the president of the school, the high school you're at, who likes you. You're involved in big projects. You must speak it aloud to the people. And by the way, he goes to the Harvard Library and studies with the kids there for the last 2 years, gets on a train and goes there. I mean, this isn't like this kid isn't walking the walk already, but he must go all in, which brings you back to that weakness, that test. If that's the one thing that you're worried about, if that's the one thing that's fueling the voice to say, oh, you can't get there, because pragmatically you can't without a certain test level. You just can't. It's not where the median and the average is. So you must go all in under the big H with that thing you must solve, I told him. All in, every waking hour. And I said, this is really where it sounds like maybe I'm a fanatic talking to a kid. I'm a realist. I'd say the same to an adult. I'd say it's same to even a younger kid who would understand this. Because if you don't, you're pulling the punch. You're feeding the apologetic voice in somebody's head. Don't do that to people. Tell them they must go all in. There's a reality. Stop being sheep herded. Stop being dumbed down. I mean, we're not talking about sending some kid, into a situation where they're not eating and they're not sleeping and they're home. We're not saying that stuff. That's not what we're saying here. We're saying your mind. In your mind, you must go all in. There is no compromise. You must go all in to tell your mind, this is the one thing that I want. So tell me, oh great mind, what resources we have available to us to make it happen. And that leads to the last point here. Then don't let go until it happens. Don't let go. Now, I'll throw in a caveat here. I'll gear down a little bit and say, look, I understand that some of us might put down that we want to be this sort of a physical athlete, and we're just not physically there. And that even resourcefully to get the great weight training coach in this, maybe it doesn't happen. But when I say don't let go until it happens, don't let go until it happens to be like all of a sudden it's not important to you anymore. Or it's just not physically realistic or whatever, because you don't know who you're becoming. You don't know what things will open up to you, that your subconscious was even smarter than you. It said, if you go for that thing and you get it, wonderful, like it was really great. But what about that magical journey that you're on? What about that process of a better life? The way to pursue what you love and achieve it. Aren't you happy in that continuum of time? Isn't that what happiness is? Is that we're speaking these great things aloud. The resources are coming to us. We're learning, we're adjusting, we're becoming a different person. But the one we want to become, isn't that at the essence of what happiness is? That you're enjoying the process of life? I think it is. So when I say go all in, it's on what you love. When I say don't stop until it happens, it's because you told me you love that thing. And I'm giving you permission to be a fanatic, your own fanatic, because happiness will come from being that person. Again, let me just give you the caveat. Don't forget to sleep right. Don't forget to exercise. Don't forget to take your vitamins. Don't forget to be a good part of, a good human, a person for others. Of course. All those things. But I'm talking to you about not being apologetic and going for what you want. Understand it takes all of you. And many people, as you become this thing, as you go up this ladder, will not understand you, especially the people closest to you. And they will get scared by your ideas and the way that you pursue them. It will scare them for you. Their own fears, their own small apologetic voice inside will try to hang on to your ankle and keep you from doing it because they're worried about you. They love you too much, whatever. You gotta just keep going all in. All right, let me review it like this. Just say it out loud. Stop doing this to yourself. Just say your dream out loud. Just say it out loud and write it down in this order of doing it. Start by stop apologizing for what you really want. Inside your head, stop. Stop apologizing. At least start here where nobody can hear you. Second, when you speak it, though, out loud, when it comes out of your mouth, and better yet, you speak it and write it at the same time, something magical begins. You awaken your subconscious to be an incredible resource to help you. But then you have to make that decision. Just decide. You must go all in, all of you, to that thing that you just said you wanted, the thing that's haunted you and won't let you go. Go all in. And then don't let go until it happens. Because that process of going all in and not letting go till it happens is what happiness is. All right, let me summarize it this way. Too many of us have big dreams for what we want to do and achieve. Yet we spend the majority of our time apologizing for being so bold to think so big. That translates into the creation of a fragile persona that gets whipped around by the thoughts and opinions of other people and prevents us from speaking our own dreams aloud and igniting the start of a fabulous journey of never-ending improvement and achievement. All right, remember, You can take immediate action to get moving in a better direction because we take all the notes from these episodes and we post them for a short time at freethinkingtools.com. Freethinkingtools.com. I'm not trying to hit you with scarcity for any other reason than I'm going to rotate them to the latest 2 so that you're not overwhelmed when you get there. And 1 or 2 episodes, I should probably just do 1. So you'd sit still and just think for a second for yourself and you'd write some of this stuff down, okay? Also, don't forget, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen, or find us on any of our social media channels for the bonus section. That's what you're listening to, the bonus section, so that you don't miss any insights each time we upload an episode. We'd also appreciate it if you would share our content with other people just like you, so that they get the help that they need and you join our mission of becoming people for others. That's the passion project here. Now, remember this. I sign off the same way every time. Nobody's coming for you. Nobody. So go get to work on yourself and the achievement of your dreams. And we'll see you in the next episode to help you do just that. Thanks again.